All right. Seamless transition into the live. Hopefully, no tech issues. Let me actually get my ring light on. Welcome, everyone, to our very first ever That Amazon Ads podcast live. Thank you for everyone who has already joined. Hopefully, some more people are joining. Feel free to tell your friends. If you haven't already, invite them to the podcast. We are going to be covering the topic of how to grow your Amazon services business and get more clients, close more deals. And we're also going to be opening this up to a Q&A where you can ask us any question about anything we talk about today, or literally anything else about Amazon PPC strategy, anything like that. So start writing your questions now, and you can just throw them on YouTube. We're only going to be checking the questions from YouTube just because it's easier to check one thing. But anyways, Andrew, how are you doing? Are you ready for this?
I'm doing ready. This is a really exciting topic. Anybody who works in an agency or who is an Amazon PPC manager wants to know how they can go about getting clients for themselves. I mean, we've all worked at agencies and seen the price tag that some of these agencies can charge their brands that they're working with. As a PPC manager, you might look at that and be like, I could just do this myself. And so this whole conversation and this whole topic is geared around how we've gone about getting Amazon PPC clients and how you can do the same. So excited to dig into it.
Absolutely. And let's just dive right in, Andrew. So, first up, we're going to be discussing client discovery and lead generation. So, where is the first place? Let's actually back up. If someone is just getting started, they don't have any freelance clients at all. They've only worked at an agency or they're just learning Amazon PPC for the first time. Where are they going to go to get the very first client? And the
Yeah,
answer to
well,
that is basically where you and I first went when we got our first clients.
100%. Yeah. Getting that initial experience is super important. If you've already got some of that experience and worked out some of the kinks in your strategies and all that through an agency, all the better. But if you're just looking to get that first new client, your first solo freelance client, the place that Steven and I went was Upwork. Now, a lot of companies use Upwork to hire different freelancers for different roles and jobs. A lot of people have different opinions about it, but ultimately, that's where we went to find our first clients. It's literally a platform of potential clients posting jobs, posting opportunities for you to potentially submit proposals to potentially, attract a new client. And that's exactly how we went about getting it. It wasn't easy by any means. Finding clients on Upwork is a little bit of grunt work. It's a hustle, and you have to be willing to put in that little bit of work on the upfront to actually get those first clients. I think when I first did this, it took me at least like 50 reach outs or proposal submissions before I got a couple phone calls set up with potential clients and brands. So it's not easy, but Upwork really is a great platform for getting that first client, getting some initial experience, finding some gigs where you can actually start practicing working with some potential clients on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking with someone and they were asking me, where do I go to get more clients? And because they hadn't done any prospecting before. And I said, do Upwork. And they're like, I don't know, man, that sounds like a hassle. And I was like, that's why it's called a hustle because it is a hassle. Like, it's a lot of work. You got to go out there and just grind, grind, grind. And, when you're launching a new Amazon product, you have 0 reviews. So it's generally good advice to like give the product away for free just to generate reviews. You can do that on Upwork too, because you need reviews on your profile. So you can either come in at like a super duper low price or even be willing to do projects for basically free. I'll charge you $1 or whatever to like launch your new campaigns just to start generating those reviews and getting your foot in the door. And then you can just tell people, I'm going to do this for free. And then if they like you and they want to continue, then you can give them another price. And you can actually probably charge higher than what other people were previously charging. Let's say the average person was charging, $500 per project. And you say, I'll do this one for free. And you get the job. And they're like, you did such a good job. I want to hire you for another project. And you can say, great, well, my prices are $1,000 per project. And it's like, okay, I can go pay $1,000 for a guy that I know is really good, or risk $500 to go with someone that I don't know. So it's either like a sure thing with 1,000 or take the risk with 500. Most people are risk averse. They're going to choose you with a higher price. Those are made up numbers. We're not talking about pricing right now. We're going to come back to that. But point being, getting your foot in the door on Upwork. If you're new to Upwork, you've got to start with just getting those first few projects and building up a bit of a resume there is going to be absolutely crucial.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did too. And that helped me kind of get in the door at some agencies that I ended up working at. I had a whole bunch of projects that I already done for brands I could show case studies and everything like that. That really helps with furthering their career. But then one thing that I'll mention on Upwork too. We got a lot to get through, so we're going to move pretty quick. But with Upwork, the best strategy that I've seen to help differentiate yourself in a sea of a whole bunch of people submitting proposals is to use video. And that's what I did with all of my proposal submissions. Was I would spend a little bit of time reading through the job, figure out any information about that client that I could, do some research on Amazon, look at their brand store, look at this, look at that, look at their listings, and then put together a video, me actually talking like to the client,
Yep.
showing their page, showing their product, showing the different things that I see that could be improved upon to build that trust, show immediate value to that client, and it really differentiate yourself from people who are just sending text proposals, no real personality to it. It's really going to help set you apart, and it's going to help set up, a good, easy close whenever they have that personal connection with you already. So I would just encourage you to try to
Absolutely.
differentiate
Yep.
yourself in that way.
Yeah. And anyone who's ever been on the client side of Upwork, which I have for different, design needs or website needs, when people just send you like copy paste, their same template, they all kind of blur together and it's all kind of the same thing. So anything to help yourself to differentiate yourself and stand out. If you can send a Loom video that's super personalized, that's gonna speak volumes. And I also just want to mention, Upwork tends to be smaller brands. You're not going to find, like if Apple's looking to hire a new PPC manager, they're not going to be going on Upwork, right? So it's going to be smaller mom and pop shop brands, but those brands can grow. And just to give you an idea, one of my first Upwork clients I ever got was spending $500 a month, and the dude had like one or two products. He was literally making them in his garage himself, and so he was selling on Amazon Handmade. And he now spends $60,000 to $80,000 a month. Has a massive catalog that does like $5 million a year in annual sales. So, and he has got multiple warehouses. So these businesses can grow, and fortunately, in my pricing with him, I didn't just say like, oh, I'll charge you $50 a month, and we're still doing that. I put in some growth incentives so that I would grow with his business, and I have. And we'll come back to pricing later on. But anything to add here on Upwork, Andrew?
No, I think that's it. That you answered that question. Adil had put a question in there. How are you guys getting more high ticket clients? Upwork is not really the most saturated place to go looking for those bigger ticket clients, but we're going to get into where you can find those and what platforms those audiences actually live in.
Yep. So let's move on to LinkedIn. Um, I think Andrew is the LinkedIn expert in terms of just his sheer content. You were doing a daily post every single day this year, but I think did that
I
streak get
did. I
broken?
did it for 9 months. So I was trying to
It's
shoot for a
impressive.
year, and I did it for 9 months, a post every single day. The posts varied, but I kind of fell off whenever we went to Unboxed, and I didn't have everything planned
Accelerate,
out,
yeah.
or Accelerate.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I didn't have everything planned out, and I fell off for like a week, and I just have been struggling to catch up ever since then with just being busy Q4 and all that. But yeah, posting on LinkedIn is really where it's at. And before we kind of dig into some of the platform specifics and dig into some of the profile optimization stuff that you can do to help start finding these clients, you depending on what you're doing, I mean, I imagine most people on this are Amazon PPC managers or trying to start an agency of some sort. A basic marketing fundamental is just knowing where your target audience hangs out. Where do they live? Where are people in your target audience, these Amazon brands, that are, where are they actually doing most of their browsing? Is it on, most people on the internet, obviously, but is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? Is it YouTube? Is it Facebook? Is it, all these other channels? Where is that target audience actually spending most of their time, and where are you going to be most effectively able to reach them? And in our experience, LinkedIn is by far the best place to reach those audiences, simply because LinkedIn is a B2B platform. It's where other business professionals are hanging out. That's where you'd want to go to start putting your name out there, putting your content out there, to start attracting those business owners to you. So first step is just knowing where those customers live. And then you can start to get into the in-platform strategy around them. So they're going to differ depending on the medium of content that you're posting. The format is going to change. With YouTube, it's obviously video. With LinkedIn, you can do a multitude. You can do text, you can do image, you can do video, you can do all types of stuff. So knowing what works best on each platform and the way you're posting on each platform is going to slightly vary. But let's get into LinkedIn. Steven, you might pull up a screen share. Let's just go over a profile, and we can just do a quick overview of some of the optimization capabilities that you need to be looking at on your LinkedIn profile to like actually start getting some traction and growing your audience as you start posting a little bit more and sharing your content.
Is this what you wanted me to show?
No, I just wanted you to show my LinkedIn profile. We'll get to
Oh,
that.
Andrew Bailiff.
Okay. So, a couple things. Just start from the top here. So, a fully optimized LinkedIn profile, scroll up a little bit, Steven. You're going to, Steven, can you scroll up a little bit? Thank you. The banner images at the top. You can see we've got this nice scroll effect going. You can add multiple banner images there. I think these are really great for just having a really simple way of depicting and sharing what it is that you do. What's the value that you add to your potential clients? You can see in that first slide, it's very straightforward. Better Amazon ad performance guaranteed. That's our tagline. That's our mission statement, our promise to anybody using our software. So that very clearly states what it is that we're doing. From there, you've got your profile photo. You obviously want to make sure that that is a clean, good looking photo. Make sure it actually looks like you. I've seen a lot of AI ones that don't look that good. I've also seen a lot of really bad headshots. So just take some time, get a good headshot.
Do not use AI headshots. My goodness. When people are like connecting with me on LinkedIn, I instantly just ignore or reject anyone who has an AI headshot. And if they send me a message, I instantly block them and remove them as a follower. It's very annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. I've only had one person ever say, "Hey, your profile picture doesn't look like you." And I was like, it is. So just make sure your profile picture is actually you and not AI generated, and it's professional looking. Next, you've got the ability to add a little headline to your profile. You can see mine says building ad labs, better Amazon ad performance guaranteed. Another opportunity just to add a quick little headline to whenever your profile shows up on LinkedIn and other places, you can see more profiles for you on that side right there where it shows that little tagline. It's good for just portraying what it is you do in a very short sentence. Make sure you have that filled out. Spend some time optimizing it too. Mess around with it. See what you like better. I'm constantly refining and changing that. And then above the fold still, we have our free bid optimizer. This is just going to link out. So you want that to direct to some piece of free value for people. Nobody's just going to click that just like, hey, go to my website. Like, no, they want something for it to incentivize them to click on it. So in this, we're saying it's a free bid optimizer. Super important for Amazon PPC managers. They're like, hey, let me check this out. I can potentially optimize my bids, no cost, no risk, all that type of stuff. So just having some place to direct people to capture their information or add some free value or give away something to actually capture their information is going to be super helpful.
Yeah, and for freelancers or agencies, I think free audit is a great thing. Depending on how well known you are, if you're someone that you think people would want to jump on a call with, I've seen a lot of people like just do like book a free call and just books their like Calendly link. I think that's great because if people know they can immediately jump on a phone call with you and ask questions, that's just way more streamlined for them as opposed to having to like send you an email or whatever, go back and forth, try to, go to your website to try to learn more about your business. A lot of people would just rather jump on a call and fire through their questions really quickly because it's just more convenient for them. And that way you're already getting that FaceTime with those people. So those would be my preferences. Either it's going to your website with some kind of free value or trying to drive people to an audit or book a call with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And you were going to say something?
Actually, the best thing, I was going to say what I would do if I was still freelancing, trying to like grow the freelance business. I would say get your free audit, and then I would have it go to book a discovery call with me in order to get the audit or something like that. Because I really like getting that FaceTime with people because once they see you and you talk to them, they develop some rapport with you. You start building a relationship. They begin to trust you, and then you just like do the discovery call, and then you go through the audit steps and all those types of things. So I will do whatever I can to get on a phone call with someone if I'm trying to close it. When things just go in the DMs, they get lost way too easily.
Yeah, and having that book a call to action or book a demo or whatever or set up an audit, it helps whenever all of your content is all the free value that's already kind of building up that trust leading into it. You're much more likely to actually get people clicking to book a call if your content that's being put out is already positioning you as an expert, as an authority. They're already going to be familiar with your strategies and things like that you do, which is going to help make that process of signing up for a call a little bit less have a little less friction as it might have.
Yeah. Here's what mine looks like, by the way. I took the same thing. Andrew made these for me. Thank you, Andrew. Andrew's a good Canva designer. So, what else do you want to add on, Andrew? I want to move quickly through this so we can have time for
the only other thing I was going to say is if you look on my profile, there are little sections where you can add like little thumbnails. And those are super helpful. I get a lot of people
Really
clicking on
good. Yeah.
these, just calling to action some of the different resources that you've put out for us. It's like book a demo. You can check out the podcast, a lot of free value there. And then we have our 10-step Amazon account audit, which that's just directing to a Google form where people fill out. And I have that's been up for a couple years, and it just steadily captures leads. I don't ever even mention it. So just having it on there is capturing leads. So I'd encourage you to use that featured section to help direct the traffic where you want it to go.
Very good. Do you want to jump into the tools, the toolkit, the growth kit, or
Sure,
talk
sure.
about
That seems
outreach?
like a
They kind of
that
blend
seems like
together.
a yeah, that seems like a natural transition. So, with growing on LinkedIn, there are a handful of tools that we've used that have really helped expedite the speed at which we've been able to grow followings. Like a couple years ago, I was at 0. I had never posted on LinkedIn. Steven also was at 1,000 or
Actually,
2,000 or something
yeah,
when we started.
I I'm gonna jump in here. I'm gonna steal your thunder if that's okay, Andrew, because we're about to say the same thing. I just want to be the one to say it.
Do it.
We're gonna give you guys the biggest hack that, frankly, we should not be telling anybody, because we are going to appear as frauds to you and hypocrites. But how I went from, and we have here on the growth kit thing. So this is gonna be something that we're gonna be dropping in the Discord, by the way. So Derek Barabo, if you're watching, I believe you're watching, can you post the link to the Discord, to the podcast Discord? Because these giveaways that we mentioned we're going to be giving away are going to be going in the Discord, and when the live stream ends, we're going to be deleting those files. So we said that before, that these are only for the people who are watching the live stream. So Andrew's going to post this
Yeah, I'll
now, this
start dropping
PDF,
them
so
in
you guys
there.
can see it. Yeah, but
Put
here
it in the
is
announcements.
just like an example of the results. So Andrew went from like basically 0 to 11,000.
It was
I went from
actually
around
0.
3.
It was like 150. I think I had
It was
150
basically 0. Yeah.
connections. Yeah.
He was not using LinkedIn. And then I was using these metrics, by the way, are kind of around, like, it's about 1 or 2 years old. It was like around when we started Ad Labs was when we started to really try to grow this. I had around 3,000. I had a decent following just from, I don't know, I used LinkedIn a little bit before and had some connections. I was also on the PPC Den Ad Badger podcast, so I probably gained 1,000 or 2 followers from that. But I went from 3K to, like, now this is 17,000. I just want to say
Yeah,
that.
I'm not giving enough credit.
But how Andrew and I did that, how we grew the followers, is 2 ways. Number one, just post, make really good content so that people want to follow you. And number two, connect with as many people as LinkedIn will let you. They will let you connect to around like 150 people per week. The hack is that every single connection, like if I just friend one of you guys right now and we connect with each other, you instantly count as one of my followers. And by the way, there is a thing I would not recommend everyone to do this at the start, but there is somewhere, I forget where, but you can convert your LinkedIn account to a creator account, which is when it's going to start showing followers. For anyone else, kind of random, like all these people are kind of influencers, but like I'll do this. We'll go into my network here, see who's trying to connect with me. I'm not sure who this guy is, but his message was kind of vague. Sorry if you're watching this podcast, but your message was clearly just a copy paste thing, so I'm not interested. But see, it says just 500 connections. So he doesn't have like a follower account because it's not showing his followers. And then that's like, is his message still here? My network. Yeah, it's just very generic. I don't like that. So we're gonna come back to outreach and what happens if someone says something personal to me, or they're clearly like, they care. I'll accept the connection. But all those things that are just like, people trying to sell services or whatever, I instantly delete. So connect with as many people as you can. We use something called Octopus, which is, let's actually go to LinkedIn. So the way it's going to work is you're going to go and you're just going to say like Amazon PPC agency or whatever. You search for something that you want, or Amazon business, or whatever. Find something that you want. Go to people.
It's basically whatever the title
then,
would be of the target demographic that you're looking for.
Correct.
So if it's like
You're just trying to filter down to
or something.
to a relevant list. Sometimes you'll have some first person connections in here or something. So I'll go to second connections, and then I'm going to open up this Octopus CRM, and it's just going to scrape this and put everything into my CRM. So I'm going to say connect, like, I don't know, 500. I'm not sure how many are here, but we're going to send it to the CRM. And then that's
We're
just going
not
to
seeing
start
that
like,
plugin,
oh, shoot, it's not showing.
unfortunately. Yeah,
My bad. There's a Chrome plugin that is not displaying, but it's
it's
called
pretty
Octopus
simple.
CRM. It's a Chrome plugin. There's a little pop up here that was just like how many of these profiles you want to send to your CRM,
Hmm.
and then I'm gonna try to open up one more tab here. Won't let me while it's still processing. 89%, and it's done. Okay, so now we can go to the CRM. So it looks like this. So I already had like 500 in there. I think it added an extra 450. So here, I don't know who this is, but I'm just going to delete that one. So we delete this. And then here's the message that I send. I do not like to sell anything. So I say, hey, this is going to include their first name. And I say, just connecting with fellow Amazon people, smiley face. Very non-intrusive, trying to have a little personal touch with that smiley face. And let's just say I'm going to connect with like 100 people right now. So I'm just going to say launch. And this is just going to go on autopilot. I can leave this tab and it's just going to work its way through. Right now it's contacting Jennifer Freeman. Don't know who this is, but seems like some agency director. So great. Now, the reason why this is important, I am not trying to sell these people. Once we are connected, they are now one of my followers, which means every time I make a post, it will be showing up in their feed because they're following me. So it shows up in their feed. So all of your posts begin to get more reach as you have a lot more followers. And that generates more engagement, which generates more followers, more people discovering you. So that is like the quick hack. So you can get at least 150 new followers per week just by connecting with people. And then on top of your posting, you can potentially double the number of followers if you're making really good engaging posts and telling people to follow you and things like that. So, all right, Andrew, back to you.
Yeah, this is all really good. So going back to the growth kit, Octopus CRM, really good way to grow followers. There's a whole list of other tools in the growth kit that we use on a regular basis. I would definitely put Octopus CRM at the top of that list in terms of impact of actually quickly growing the following, getting those connections and new followers. There are some other ones that we use, or I use on a regular basis, Canva being one of them, obviously to make all those graphics. Calendly just for like booking meetings, booking links for potential clients, scheduling calls, all that type of stuff. And then the other one that I actually use, there's some other ones in there that I don't really use that much, but do use every once in a while. This one called TypeGrow. It's just a LinkedIn post formatter. So you can just plug your text in there and go through and add like the bold and italics and all that type of stuff to all of your posts. It just makes for a little bit more visually appealing copy on all of your individual posts that you put out. So there's some useful tips and tools in there, but Octopus CRM is definitely the biggest hack for growing the following. I'll say the other hack for growing the following on LinkedIn actually is more in relation to the type of content that you're posting and the posting strategy. So one thing, if you're on LinkedIn now, you probably know or have noticed that pretty much everybody is just doing giveaways. Like they're just like, hey, I have this free resource, comment on my post and I'll send it to you. They're all over the place. I do them. Steven does them. Everybody on LinkedIn does them who's trying to grow a following. And the reason why is because they are huge engagement pieces of content. You can see here on some of these top performing posts. This is from the last year from my side of things. You can see all three of those top posts, first of all, just getting 60,000 or more impressions on each of them, and then all the engagement. But every single one of them is a giveaway. It's me saying, I have this resource. Here's what it allows me to do. I kind of show it in some sort of visual and say, comment on this to get the free resource. That has led to thousands of people commenting on it. And whenever you start getting more and more people commenting on a post, LinkedIn's algorithm naturally starts to bump it up in the algorithm and feed it to more people. So more and more people start to see it. More and more people are commenting. And it's just like this flywheel effect of getting the post out there to more and more people. So giveaways are huge. If you have something of value to give, if you have a particular like angle on some strategy or some topic within Amazon, put together some sort of like low effort, high impact resource that you could just like ship out to people, post about it, and you'll get a lot of people start commenting on it. And that's a really good way to start growing the following, growing the reach. One other small thing on this, and I'll let Steven jump in, is whenever people are commenting on this, I send it to every single person that comments manually most of the time, which takes a lot of time. And that's a lot of grunt work. But make sure you're sending it out to everybody and commenting back to them whenever you have sent it to them. Tell them you sent it. That gets them coming back to look at the post again. So you're getting like another impression, another repeat visit to your post that LinkedIn then sees. And then you're DMing it to them, and they can use the resource there. And then anybody who is not currently connected with you, don't send it to them. Send them a reply to their comment and say, shoot me a connection request and I can send you the resource. That then gets everybody who wasn't currently connected with you sending you connection requests to where they're then now following you. So all these thousands of people who are commenting on your posts are then asked to then follow you. They don't really know that they're following you. They're just connecting with you to get this free thing. And then you deliver the resource. But that takes a lot of work to actually deliver those if you don't have a software that's kind of automatically doing it. I personally just like that personal touch, being able to add in specific little blurbs or little lines that are specific to a
Yeah,
person that I know or something. So
I don't think there is a software that can automatically send something only to the people who commented and then
yeah,
also
not on
reply to those
LinkedIn.
people.
Not on
Yeah.
LinkedIn yet. There's like ManyChat on like Instagram, where if they leave a comment, it'll like start a chat bot and auto send them something. But I don't think it's
Hmm.
integrated with LinkedIn yet. I did do one thing one time where I downloaded the software that could scrape all of the profile names from a post, and then I
That's
uploaded
cool.
that to Octopus CRM where I could bulk blast the message. So there's like a auto connect bot in Octopus and then an auto messaging bot. And I use the auto messaging one to like send it out to everybody. But I only did that a couple times whenever I had like thousands of comments that I had to send out. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's another powerful tool, is just doing those giveaways and engagement farming basically.
Yeah, and I think LinkedIn's algorithm is trying to promote discussion. They want there to be a lot of activity of posts and replies and stuff. And I think that's why the comment for this whatever drives so much engagement. Because we've also tried other things where it's like this and you get it, or repost this and you get it, but nothing seems to perform as well as comment for this. And it's also just easier to reply to all those people and stuff like that. In terms of my posts, in the last year, frankly, I've been pretty bad at posting. So these ones were actually these bottom two were giveaways. This first one was just like a bash on sponsored display. So
Bashing
there's two
Amazon
posts.
always gets a lot
Yeah,
of visibility for whatever reason.
yeah. In terms of human psychology, a common enemy is a very strong
Yep.
sentiment thing. That's why Stephen Pope's My Amazon Guy is always about all of us versus Amazon or whatever it is. It's a strong message, right? Because we love feeling united against a single enemy, a common enemy. So that's that. But then there's also this other app called Shield that's really good if you're going to be doing a long-term strategy with LinkedIn and planning to post for over a year. Then Shield is going to be good to like just aggregate data beyond what LinkedIn will show you. So in this case, I can actually see my all-time posts and which one was the best performing post of all time. And I can't currently see this in LinkedIn because it only goes back 1 year. But I can see that this post that I made uh, a year and a half ago that nearly broke 100,000 impressions. This one was a giveaway. If I click this, it was the day parting calculator one. So that one did very well with 1,000 comments.
Nice.
I did not respond to all those people. I just made a separate
Yes.
LinkedIn post. I was
Yeah,
like,
people
it's
do
too
that
many
all
to
the time.
respond to. I was like, yeah, just here. Here's the thing. If you commented, here it is.
Dude, I
Um,
comment on so many of those things and I never get the resource. And I'm just like, dude, come on.
Super annoying.
Like,
Yeah.
that's super annoying. If somebody did that
Yeah.
on mine, I would feel really bad. So send it out to people. Come on.
Correct. Yeah. This is probably the only time where I didn't do that. But in general, you should. I think on this one actually, on
That looks like the bidding
this one I said
macro.
I'm only giving it to 10 people, so I limited it.
Oh, nice.
So you could try that too. But I mean, if you're just getting started or whatever, yeah, just the point is follow through. You do not want to build a reputation of being someone who does not follow through with what you said you were going to do. Let's see how my octopus is doing. Nice, 16% of the way done. They do a timer, so they do one profile every couple of minutes just to avoid getting caught by LinkedIn. Hopefully, no LinkedIn reps are watching this. I doubt it, but yeah, I'm going to say one more thing on this, and then we're going to move on. But what's so great about my outreach when I say, hey, just connecting with fellow Amazon people, I never follow up with them. But what I will see is sometimes 1 or 2 years later, they've just been in my sphere of influence. They've been seeing my posts, engaging with my stuff, seeing the growth of ad labs or whatever we're doing, getting value out of I'm posting PPC strategies. They like it. They're learning things. And then 1 or 2 years later, with me never following up, they come back and like, hey, Steven, do you guys do managed services? Or I'm interested in learning more about ad labs. Can we set up a demo? Great. If I was sending them follow-ups like, hey, you should check out our managed services thing and you want a free audit, I'm going to get blocked. At least that's what I do to other people. I will allow people to message me. If they're a new connection and they message me once trying to sell something, I'll usually just ignore it. If they message me a second time, I block them. because I do have like, look at how many connections I have, especially because when I'm doing this, and like a lot of times I connect with people and then they just start selling me on stuff, and I'm just like, get out of here. But if we look at my profile, and I've got 17,000 followers, and how many connections? 9,000, 10,000 connections. So that's going to give you an idea. Like a lot of these connections were generated by Octopus. So I really only truthfully generated like 7,000 followers from sheer content alone. Most of my follower count came from LinkedIn bot, because if I can do 150 connections a week times 52 weeks, that's potentially like 8,000 a year. I'm not, I don't do it every single week. We got to get better at that. But just to give you an idea, within 1 year, you can get to over 10,000 followers if you're using the LinkedIn bot every single week. I think I said this, but there is a limit. You can only do 150 per week. So you got to like space them out each week. So
Yeah, Octopus has like a little premium feature where you can potentially send more than that via email. I haven't tested it to see if it actually works any better, but there is some workaround where you could potentially send out more connection requests using
I don't do
Octopus,
it
but
because I don't
I
want my
wouldn't.
email.
But
I don't want
yeah,
my email getting reported as spam and then being blocked by like Google.
true. But yeah, that's such a good point too on the cold outreach, just like having a kind of generic but like personal first message. I've seen that, and you'll see it in the cold outreach template. I just threw that in the Discord chat as well. There's a couple screenshots from chat messages where that first touch point was just that Octopus CRM message that goes out, and then you can see like a gap for quite a while. I never said anything to him again, but then those people are seeing the content from ad labs, from our podcast, from other LinkedIn posts, and then they ultimately come back like you were saying, and then they're like, hey, what's this thing you're talking about, ad labs, that I keep hearing about? Like, I'd love to hear more about it. So that's initially how it starts. It's just that first message and that first connection request is just planting that seed. That's that first connection, that first touch point that you're getting, and then everything else is just your organic content that you're hitting them with once they're connected with you. But that's extremely effective. This has happened so many times in the last couple of
Yeah.
years.
I should have given you some of my screenshots, where like I say, hey, just connected with Amazon people. And then 1 year later, they come
Yeah.
in hot being like, let's jump on a demo call. Like no
Yeah.
other communication. If that LinkedIn bot didn't make that connect, like I can't tell you how many sales we get as a result of that.
Yeah.
Or they connect with you, they never DM you. They don't even realize they're connected to you. They just see you make some post on LinkedIn, and then it causes them to like reach out, go to your website. So they come through the website and they're just like, oh yeah, I heard about you guys on LinkedIn or whatever. They don't remember that a year ago you connected with them randomly because you guys haven't been in contact and messaging. So really good stuff there. I think we're gonna take a quick break and just see if there's any if you have any questions related to LinkedIn. We're gonna take a pause and try to answer some of these questions. So if you
Yeah,
have
just on
questions
like the
around
client
LinkedIn
attraction, the
outreach,
awareness, getting your voice out there, anything on that.
I am seeing some comments pertaining to things that we'll come back to later when it comes to pricing
Top 3 points to
and
discuss on the
audits.
discovery call, which we're going to get into. We've got a whole
Okay,
script for that.
here's a good question. What are the best topics to post on LinkedIn?
Good one.
Andrew?
Yeah, I would say the best topic to post on LinkedIn is what you know best, what you know better than anybody else, and start with that. Talk about your unique thoughts and perspectives and angles on particular topics. I mean, keep it all kind of within the same realm. You can mix it up. I throw a little personal posts in there every once in a while too, but largely keeping it just focused around value driven content, saying, here's how I would do this or how I would do that or what I'd be looking for in this little avenue. There's so many different avenues within Amazon that you could write content about, like just little tiny topics, micro topics within the platform, within the ecosystem. I mean, there's endless things to talk about, but just figure out what you know best, what you feel strongest and most confident in talking about, and like points that you feel strongly about and could potentially defend. And that's the stuff that you should start writing about. I think the biggest thing people run into with creating content is just imposter syndrome, or just feeling like they don't have any value to add, or like their value or their point of view isn't valid. And you just got to get over that and just like keep posting and grind through that feeling of not feeling like the content you're putting out is valuable, and just keep putting it out, and with consistency will come the quality.
Yeah. I'm just gonna give it a couple examples. These first three were giveaways, so let's ignore those. Giveaways are not real content per se.
We got another question
So
here
what are the
too.
types?
This is pretty relevant. I was going to jump in if
Mhm.
you don't mind. What type of LinkedIn content consistently attracts high value Amazon clients, posts that convert to actual leads, not just engagements? Which is a good question because a lot of the stuff that's spurring the engagement is kind of upper funnel awareness that ends up leading to those high ticket clients. My biggest high ticket client did not come from any sort of like, hey, buy my services kind of post. It was just me posting about Amazon related stuff. And then they liked it and they ended up reaching out to me. But the purpose of the engagement is to get your profile out there, get your name out there. The type of content that actually attracts high quality, high value leads is the consistent content, the content that is sound logically, that's consistently put out. Other than that, I mean, it's kind of a little bit of luck, but also just a little bit of effort in putting all of these resources out there and all the information out there that ultimately leads to those higher ticket clients reaching out. So yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything to add to that, Stephen?
I was going to say sharing strategy is huge. So at the time, my best performing post, look, note the date on this. This was 2023 when I only had like 3,000 followers. So I had very few followers at this time, which is part of why it got fewer impressions. But I made a post titled "Why Revenue Per Click Bidding is King" in Amazon PPC. We ended up turning that whole thing into a podcast episode. But my best performing posts historically have been the ones that I spent 2 hours or more writing and just spending a ton of time writing something, formatting it. Also, you guys should know like you can't use bold text on LinkedIn, but if you go to Unicode text converter, you can. And my browser is kind of looking weird, but you can be like testing words, and then you can copy and paste this Unicode text. I don't know why it's in like dark mode or whatever, but Math Sans Bold is the one that I like the best.
Nice. You got a lot more
You
options
don't
with
want
this
to.
one than you do with TypeGrow. TypeGrow does the same thing.
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
this one has a lot more customization, looks
A
like.
lot of people try to get too weird and like they use like the gothic
Yeah.
ones that I'm just
Can't
not a
even
big
read it.
fan of. Yeah, but let's actually just say sentence beginning. Yeah, just stick with like these two: Math Sans Bold Italic and Math Sans Bold. Just use those. Don't try to get into this weird like Math Bold Italic Gothic formatting. So it's like, what are you doing? You know? And definitely don't go into these weird like Ethiopic ones, which is pronounced Ethiopic, not Ethiopic. Anyways, so um that was one of my best performing posts at the time. Since then, I've had some other ones where like excluding the giveaways, just value related stuff. So this was like, what's a good conversion rate on Amazon? Just really good data that people found really valuable. I guess I did say comment data, so there was like a little bit of a there was a little bit of a engagement farming on that one, but then also like this was hilarious. I just said my favorite thing about Amazon is how keep me signed in checkbox doesn't work because it signs you out every single time. Just a
So
real simple
relatable.
post. Yeah, anything that's like so for me, those are the two contents that do great. Something that's like funny, relatable, bashing Amazon, and then something that's providing some kind of value, a strategy around keyword harvesting or whatever. Not something that's generic. Not just be like, don't just be like, here's my strategy for harvesting keywords. If it has at least one order, I'm going to harvest it. The end. It's like, no, like what's something that's actually helpful to people that most people don't know that you think is actually very valuable. Like for us, it's like revenue per click. We have basically all of our podcast content. We should do a better job of repurposing that into posts. But
So
like, here's another
one thing too,
just
I want to
showing like
add
$200 bids. Sorry, lag.
is you're good. What was I gonna say? Oh man. Oh, I was gonna say,
About
a lot
connecting
of
with
these
clients.
are, yeah, yeah. So a lot of these posts are based on engagements and trying to, just be relatable, be funny, and reach a lot of people. But there is a time and place for those call to action style posts. So there have been times where I don't do this anymore because I'm not really interested in bringing on managed service clients. But I would put together posts like, "Hey, I'm taking on one new client this month, blah, blah, blah. Here's the criteria that you need to meet. If you're a brand looking for this type of service, reach out." I've done that maybe 2 times and got several leads from it. So there is a place for sprinkling in some of those direct CTAs to get people to sign up or sign up for free audit or engage with you in some particular way. But it just doesn't need to be kind of like everything that you're pushing. There's a time and a place for it, but it's to be sprinkled in, and to drive those calls to action. You need to be strategic about it and have all of this built up trust and authority and all this goodwill and good faith of value that you've already put out before you start asking for people's money, or people to do anything for you. It's like Gary V, jab, 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 right hook, give, and then you ask. So just try to sprinkle those posts in there to actually get the leads to take an action whenever needed.
Yep. Cool. Someone asked, are we running LinkedIn paid campaigns? No, everything's been organic. We did do a small test with some LinkedIn ads. They're very expensive, and we're not proving a positive ROI for us. They will probably, we need to do some work on those. Like, I'm sure LinkedIn ads can be profitable. We need to dial in the creative and the messaging stuff. So that's just on our to-do list. We're optimistic about the potential for LinkedIn ads, but so far all of our growth has been without that. The final thing I'm just going to say on this, and I think we should move on, but don't try to do YouTube. Most of you are like, unless if you have a very bubbly personality and you love being on camera, you consider yourself an entertainer, like you like public speaking, like, then sure, like start a podcast or whatever. But for the average person that just YouTube for us has been such a slow grind. We've made much more progress on LinkedIn and get better leads on LinkedIn as well. So like LinkedIn is where it's at. YouTube is not where it's at, and is a lot harder to grow, and just takes a ton more energy to like figure out cameras, lighting, all this kind of stuff, grow the channel, manage it, edit the videos, focus on LinkedIn. But even on LinkedIn, just like Amazon, things are very momentum centric. So it's going to take time. You're going to have to post for about a year until and use those LinkedIn connections until you finally start building a good enough audience, dialing in your content, and start that kind of flywheel effect where your network is starting to grow and grow viral. More followers engage. The more they engage, the more followers you get. They engage, and it's just a positive feedback loop. So,
yeah. And final thought on this for me, somebody asked if this is like consistent. Like everything we've talked about so far, the leads that we're getting, especially for ad labs, is extremely consistent. For managed services, it's relatively consistent, and we don't even talk about it. We don't push it. We don't have call to actions. We get people reaching out asking for it regularly, but we aren't actually actively pushing it. So I imagine if you're doing these strategies, but actually the call to action is to do managed service, then the lead flow is going to be relatively consistent. Not even promoting it at all and just having one little lead capture form on my LinkedIn profile, I get maybe 1 to 2 potential managed service leads per month. And that's not promoting it. So I imagine if you were promoting it, you could probably get that up to 4 or 5 pretty consistently per month.
All right. So we covered lead gen. We're going to close out this episode talking about auditing accounts, sales calls, closing more deals. Most of the questions we've gotten so far have been around those topics anyways. So we're going to save some time at the end to go through all of those questions. So if you have more questions, make sure you're answering it. Derek just posted the Discord link. So everything that we're doing here, just as a reminder, in case if you're joining late, Andrew is posting these in our Discord. Join the Discord so you can get these files. Make sure you download them and save them, because when this live stream ends, we're going to be deleting those files, because that was part of the benefit of joining the live stream, is you get these files for free. So make sure that you're in the podcast, you're watching the live stream. If you're watching the recording of this later, sorry, stick around for the next live stream. All right, Andrew, what do you want to tell us about discovery calls?
Yeah, well, Mohammed put a question in the chat and said, what are the top 3 points you discuss in the discovery call? So once you go about attracting those clients to you, you get them booked on a discovery call where you're actually going to start interfacing with them on a video chat. What do you say? What do you do? What's that first call supposed to go like? And what should be your main focus? So really valuable question, and a really important stage of the process to make sure you're actually leading to a successful close. So this first call is really just about the main goal is just introduction, but the main goal is to get access to their account so you can actually conduct the audit. So everything that you're working towards within this first call is to get access to their account so you can start doing the audit. What that typically looks like is walking through some typical small talk, as any meeting typically starts with. I usually like to spend a little bit of time ahead of the call researching the person on LinkedIn, on Facebook just to kind of see what they're into, where they're from. Maybe there's some particular interests that they have. And I'm just looking for something to relate to them on, like something relatable, something we have in common, or something I find interesting about them, and then bring that to the call. So that's a good way to kind of build rapport initially, find some initial common ground and connect with the person. But from there, I mean, you're really just trying to open up the problem. You're trying to figure out where this person's coming from. What are they even coming to you for? The problem I see with most people getting on sales calls initially is that they get on and they just want to tell you about their stuff. They want to get through the point and they want to tell you like what they can do for you. The whole point of this call is to understand your client more, or this potential client. What are the problems that they're facing? Where are they, currently going wrong? What are the biggest pain points? What are they trying to overcome by bringing you in? You're really just trying to bring up all the stuff that's been bubbling up at the surface, all the issues that they're having with their current agency or their current solution or their margins or whatever, and bring that to the surface. So you want to dig deeper, constantly asking probing questions, open-ended questions to really get them talking. You shouldn't be talking very much in these. If you look at your post meeting stats, you should be talking like 30-40% of the time, and the client should be talking 60 to 70% of the time in a good sales call.
By post meeting stats, Andrew is talking about AI call recorders. Those are great. We love using Fathom. It is just the best AI note taker. There is a free version. We use the paid version because it's very much worth it. But it's going to summarize the notes. It's going to, in the notes, in the outline, it's also going to hyperlink to the timestamp in the videos. And you can also chat with the Fathom to be like, hey, like what were their main pain points again? Or like whatever. And it will pull those up. So that's super huge. And it will also give you a score on like if you were doing monologues and stuff, which during a sales call, you should not. During your presentation of the audit, it's obviously going to be very monologue heavy because you're walking through it and doing most of the talking. But during that discovery call, your goal is to listen as best as you can.
Yeah, and just by asking those questions and getting them talking, like that's going to build the trust in you. Is like you actually probing and asking the right questions. You want them to know that you actually care about their business and you're interested in understanding where they're at to see if this solution that you're providing is actually even right for them or not. A lot of times clients will want to jump into the details and be like, what can you do for me? How much is it? What are we going to do? All this strategy, blah, blah, blah. They want to get into it. And this call is not the place for strategy and digging into the weeds of things. And you want to kind of just dodge those questions as much as you can. Now, you're not trying to be misleading or anything like that. But ultimately, you don't know what you're going to charge this person yet. You don't know if you can help them because you're still in the process of evaluating whether they're a good fit for you. And that's the whole point of the audit, is to see whether this client, you can actually help them or not. And that whole first sales call should be around that, understanding where they're at currently, where they want to go, and whether or not you're somebody that can actually help them get to that place or not.
Yeah. And just for context, frankly, Andrew and I have closed a ton of managed services deals, but more recently, we're not taking on more managed services clients. So a lot of our sales experience has been on the software side of things, but times like a million. Like we're getting probably 20 times as many sales calls for the software that we would normally have for managed services. So just on and the sales script and everything is all the same. You're just selling a different thing. But so Andrew and I have both massively improved in our sales skills and learned a ton by just going through like 10 to 20 sales calls per week for the last 2 years.
Yeah,
and so all of this is yeah. And people always want to just say from the very beginning, how much does it cost? And what I always tell people is, in order to do so if it's on managed services, it's like, hey, in order to give you the quote, we have to do the audit. And if it's on the software side, I say, hey, in order to give you the quote, we have to have you go through the trial, the 30-day trial, because what we are going to do in that price is it's going to be guaranteed that you're making a positive ROI on it, because it does not make sense for anyone to pay you $1,000 a month to manage their account, and then they're only $500 a month more profitable. Like that's all the impact that you had. In that case, they were making more money without you. So there has to be a positive ROI. And so that's what I tell them when they ask about the price. I just say, you know what? I guarantee you it's going to be a positive ROI. We're going to come back to that like later on in this live stream where we talk about pricing and how to figure that out. But you're just going to guarantee them it's a positive ROI. Here's our guarantees that it will be there, or we're not going to charge you. In order to figure out what that's going to be, we have to go through the audit to like measure the impact, see where we can improve. And so you just kind of, and if they're looking for a ballpark, like, can you just give me a ballpark? Come on, just give them a huge range. Be like, dude, it could be anywhere from $500 to $5,000. And then you've answered their question. They're like, okay, well, it didn't really answer my question, but now they know that like you have to do the audit, And so, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. And then within the call, you also want to kind of lay out where they're trying to go. So establish what that goal outcome is. It's good to start painting the picture in the mind of your client where they want to go. You're trying to map it out and help them kind of see how you can help them get there potentially. And then from there, I mean, you're going to have most of the information that you need, but this is an opportunity to kind of get the more black and white details, kind of the typical questions that you want to know, the logistics, like how many products do they have? How much do they spend? What's their target A cost? Like all the details that you're going to want to have going into the audit to be able to evaluate whether or not, you can help them or not. You're going to want to know typically what their goals are, what their objectives are, any additional context that can provide you with some information on the account before you dig into it. Give some context for like how big of an audit, how big of a project, how big of a potential client is this, all this type of stuff, so you can kind of help prioritize your workflows after the call. But yeah, I just want to get those black and white details. Make sure you're asking all those key questions that give you those key details to take into the audit.
Yep. So the discovery call, whole purpose is to get to the audit. When you get to the audit, and hopefully you have already, what you should also be trying to discover on your discovery call, just a quick little tip and hack, is that people care about two things. They care about people, right? Relationships, we are humans, and they care about results and performance because they are also a business. But a lot of times people's personalities will kind of lean in preference of one or the other. So if they tend to seem a very personable person, then you can just really make sure you lean into that and you build that rapport. But sometimes you just get on a call with someone and they're just like a computer, right? Like if you ever talk with Andrew, he's got no personality. And I'm just kidding. But sometimes people they're very analytical and they don't really care about the small talk. So just tailor your calls to whoever they are. Like that's part of what being a good salesman is really quickly like just getting a read on if this person is more like a computer type personality or more like a butterfly type person. I don't know what I'm trying to describe, but like someone who cares more about like laughing and talking about whatever's going on in life. You should be able to discover that on your initial call. And then when you come to the audit, just be ready to be prepared with that so that like you can know if this person is not a small talk person, just dive right into it and they're going to really appreciate you for just not wasting their time. And there are other people who just like, last time you guys were talking about some sports game and like the game has since passed and you want to follow up and make jokes about it or whatever. I don't watch sports, so I don't really know how that stuff works. But all right, Andrew, the audit. What are we going to go through here? This is
the audit. This is a big one.
This is an updated audit template. We do have a whole YouTube episode titled The 10 Steps to Auditing an Account. Go watch that. That's really good. We're going to try not to rehash all of that because we're already running out of time on this live. But this is the updated version. We mentioned there was going to be an updated version, so Andrew's going to put this in the Discord as well.
Yep, absolutely. So if you've been following along, you may have gotten the legacy version of the audit template, which is still pretty good. And we've actually had a lot of agencies take that and make it their own and really improve their close rates. I think we've had 2 agencies that I know of for sure that have reached out and said that they basically took our template, put their brand on it, and they 2x their close rate with all of their
literally
inbound
doubled
leads.
The closing rates with this template. Yep.
Yeah. So, just for the impact that this can potentially have is very profound for a business. But Steven, take it away for a second. I'm just going to throw this link here in the chat and get this in there for everybody.
I don't want to talk about the audit too much because we do have that full episode. So this is the same thing. It's just a better design. So you're going to follow the same steps as you do in that episode. Derek, maybe you can link to that podcast episode as well so people can easily find it. But you're basically just going to go through. I mean, there's slides for a bunch of stuff. You're ultimately going to just take you don't want to, this deck is way too long, right? You don't want to show them 20 slides. There's a lot of stuff in here that you don't want to show them all of it. You're going to boil it down to just like the top 5, 6, 7, 8 most important like findings and then delete the other slides. So you're just going to fill out. That's why the table of contents up here is only going to have 5 talking points, but there's a lot more potential talking points. So you audit the account, find the 5 most important things, and then only fill out those slides. And then you can just tell them there was a lot more stuff to cover. Like there's so much opportunity in your account between wasted ad spend, missed opportunity sales, so much stuff, more than we could cover in this deck. In interest of time, I'm just going to highlight the 5 most important things. One big call to action for this came from an actual account, but like 99% of top sponsored brand spend going towards broad match keywords. That was just like leftover from an actual audit that we did. So anyways, you're going to come to this final slide, the executive assessment, critical. You do one overarching summary here. What's the main problem? If you could boil it down to one sentence. And then you also want to try to tally up the estimated monthly impact throughout these. So it's like, I'm not sure on this example, day parting opportunities for increase in efficiency. Take some screenshots from our day parting calculator. You estimate out what the total impact that is to their business in terms of potential net profitability between if it's either, missed sales opportunities. If it's wasted ad spend, that's clear. If it's like, hey, there's $1,000 of spend on search terms that should be negated, clear. You're losing $1,000. If it's like, hey, I think you could actually grow your sales here by 10%, you're gonna have to do some work there to be like, well, what's the margin on that to really properly estimate that out? These are very loose estimates. Frankly, I make these numbers up. I've never had anybody question me on it. So I think it works. I just be like, we're estimating this.
I'm glad you said it, because there's no real science to figure exactly how much you can impact, but there is like an art to it, right? Like as you've spent time doing this, you can kind of see.
We have been very accurate. Andrew and I, a great little case study example. We were working with this large account, Melissa and Doug, and they invested. I shouldn't have said the name because now I probably can't say how much they did. Tens of thousands of dollars. So I'm not going to give the exact number. Tens of thousands of dollars to hire a team of computer scientists to build a marginal incremental sales growth thing. If they were to like throw in an extra like $1 million budget in Q4. Yeah, forecasting. If we increase our budget for Q4 by $1 million, how is the ROAS? What's the diminishing returns on ROAS? What's the total sales going to be? Andrew and I just was like, this team spent like a full month building this report out, came back with a result. Andrew and I were just like in the DMs to each other. We're just like, what's your guess? And he was like, I think it's going to be 3 ROAS. I was like, me too. They were saying 5 ROAS. It was a 3 ROAS. So Andrew and I's gut reaction, just from our total experience on Amazon and also having managed that account for like 1 or 2 years, our gut was a lot stronger than any type of like math formula you could do. So when it comes to these estimates, frankly, to properly calculate it is kind of impossible because there's way too many variables that any computer could ever account for. You're just going to have to use your own logic and then just err on the side of being too low, right? Mm-hmm. And some of these are going to overlap because like maybe negating keywords is also going to improve harvesting keywords. Like there's going to be some overlap. So just try to account for that based off of basically accounts that you have taken over before and how you saw the net profitability improve. That should be where you're pulling in your benchmarks in terms of performance. And yeah, you're just going to tally it up and you're just like, wow, there's like a total of $20,000 of gross impact between all these different opportunities or whatever. And then there's this little gauge where you can like, say, oh, you know what? You're in the poor range, and you just switch this to poor. And then you might have to like move this little thing around. It's just kind of like a fun little thing we throw in here that we like. And then we're going to talk about pricing, Andrew, unless if you have anything else to add here on this audit.
This leads perfectly into the conversation around pricing and going through the account in the audit. You're basically tallying up and figuring out how much value you think in a dollar amount you're able to recover or add to this business, and how you price your services can be based around that potential value that you're bringing to the business in recovered ad spend or improved efficiency or increased sales, whatever it may be. And going through that process of tallying it up should give you an idea, or at least some estimation of about how impactful you can potentially be, and your pricing should be in relation to that value that you're bringing. Steven, I know you have a lot of points on this. Let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah. So just for context, Andrew, I've already said Andrew and I have closed a lot of sales. So that's where a lot of our experience is coming from. But also, I personally have a ton of friends who are career salesmen, and I just pick their brains on everything. So whenever I'm negotiating deals via email or via calls, I'm contacting them being like, how should I handle this? So that's where I've learned a lot of these things. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from a guy who's actually like a mentor of mine. He's like 60 years old. And this was the best piece of advice he ever gave me, which is do not give them one price, give them 2 prices, give them a very expensive price as an anchor that kind of like freaks them out a little bit, and then give them your real price so that they feel like they're getting a deal. And so this is going to be where when you come to this final reporting slide, and frankly, these probably should have been inverted, so the big price comes first. But this is the price that you actually want to charge them. By the time you've gone through the audit, you're making them feel a bunch of pain. You're like, look at all this wasted ad spend. They're like, oh no, help me. And it's like, we can't help you recover those funds. for a price that is less than how much you're currently losing without our help. So we have on this one, you can take the same thing that we do here, but basically we phrase this as the enhanced reporting package, which is basically there's a 3-month commitment involved in that. It's going to be weekly calls. So every single week for the first 3 months, a lot of calls. And then after that, it moves to every other week for 3 months. You can totally change this up. Custom built reporting dashboards delivered weekly. This was before Ad Labs had custom reporting dashboards. And so that took a lot of time to do. So this is basically saying, hey, here's the high, we didn't say this, but like this is the high maintenance client package. Are you going to be a high maintenance client that needs a lot of phone calls and a lot of reporting? Or are you going to be a chill client that we don't talk to that much? So on this one, that's cheaper. This is the one where you can say service is guaranteed to pay for itself within 30 days. With this one, it's like it's more premium. They're paying a lot more for reporting. You make it very clear the performance is going to be the same. So everything we just outlined, we're going to do the same PPC strategy with either package. So you're going to get the same optimization, the same results, the same profitability. All of that is going to be the same. The only thing that's different between these two packages is basically how much face time we're spending together. There's this one with a 3-month commitment, no guarantee that you're going to cover that whole thing within just 30 days, a lot more phone calls, or you start off with bi-weekly calls for the first 3 months. After 3 months, you go down to just monthly calls. This is beautiful. I get people, like I've always closed people on this. So all of my clients, I only talk to them once a month. Same with when we were doing like managed services with Ad Labs, it was like monthly phone calls. It's super easy, basically passive income. You do need higher call frequency in the very beginning because there's just a lot more volatility happening in the account, a lot more activity. You're usually doing a campaign restructure, launching new campaigns, harvesting new campaigns. So that's going to require a little higher, a lot more touch points just early on. And that's just what you explain to them. Like early on, we need these more calls because there's more happening. After that, once things kind of get into a little bit more of like a routine mode, where we're more focused on like maintenance and not doing all these crazy things, monthly cadences are good. It's also important to say like ad hoc meetings acceptable or whatever. So some people can put a limit on that. It's like, hey, you can have an additional 2 meetings a month or 3 meetings a month or whatever. I don't like making them feel like they're limited. I say, hey, we're happy to schedule an additional meeting at any time. Like just reach out to me. You want to jump on a call at any time? I will happily jump on a call with you whenever the heck you want. No limits. We're just not going to put that as a recurring meeting because from my experience, a lot of times we jump on the meeting and there's just not too much to cover. Like not much has changed over the last 2 weeks, So you might do something like in Q4, you're going to increase the frequency. You're going to go back to bi-weekly, which is every other week for just like the Q4 period because there's a lot more going on there. So you can do that around. But when I just say, hey, we can jump on a call whenever you want, to them, it's a no-brainer. It's like, well, yeah, if I can just jump on a call whenever I want, I really don't need these many calls scheduled. Like I could schedule a call twice in a week if I wanted to. It's like, yeah. They're like, great, I'll do this one. This one sounds like a really good deal. It's like half the price. I'm getting the same level of performance. I can still talk to you whenever I want. And the beauty of it is that if the PPC is going well, they don't talk to you. You just kind of keep it as like, you just slack back and forth a little bit, just stay in touch, give them some routine updates, but then you're only jumping on a call once a month and then they sign.
Yeah. Well said. We've got a question here, which is relevant to this. I mean, on the screen here, we're showing some fixed pricing, $2,400, almost 5K per month. Is that our typical pricing? We've got a question here. What's the most effective pricing model? Is it flat retainer, percent of spend, sales, hybrid? And then how do you know which one to use depending on the client size? And I will just say for myself, it is varied. I've taken contracts in a variety of different avenues, some that were percent of spend, some that were flat retainer, some that were a mix of both. I will say in general, for the higher ticket clients that I work with, they have very big budgets and charging a percent of spend is not something that they're really interested in necessarily. So for those contracts, I've done more fixed deals, fixed monthly retainers, but I always like to build in some sort of performance incentive to where if I'm hitting certain KPIs, hitting certain metrics, there's some sort of incentive for me to work really hard on the account to where I can grow my income. With a percent of spend contract, as clients scale up and they're growing and they're able to spend more, your income is going to grow with that. You kind of want to set up a similar effect with a fixed contract. So usually what I'll do is have like quarterly bonuses or annual bonuses built in, that if we hit these certain KPIs, usually determined by the client themselves, what they're most focused on. But if we hit these KPIs, I get a payout of 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever. So I've built those into contracts, which have been pretty successful. But the percent of spend one scales up the best, and it generally is more broadly applicable to the most number of clients, where you can tailor the pricing to the amount of actual ad spend that you're managing. And usually the larger the account, the more they're spending, the more attention to detail, and the more reporting, the more meetings are required, and the more attention is required. So that's a higher rate there. But in general, yeah, those flat retainers and percent of spend model, usually, for percent of spend, most people that I generally see are charging somewhere between 5 and 10% as a percent of ad spend, or they'll bake in like a fixed base retainer plus a percent of ad spend on the lower end. So I've seen a multitude of different pricing strategies. Generally, the fixed contracts with some performance incentives, or the percent of ad spend with a fixed retainer built in, are the ones that I've used the most, and haven't really had a whole lot of backlash or pushback from those things. Whereas some of the ones you mentioned, like percent of sales, like I've definitely seen a lot of brands have some pushback on that. An
Well,
old
let me
agency.
say something on
Sure,
percent of
go for it.
sales.
Sure.
A lot of people think percent of sales sounds better than percent of spend. Even a lot of clients will say that, just like it sounds like your incentives are more aligned to grow the sales and not just blow up the ad spend. The reason why we don't do that is because all spend is created equal, essentially, on Amazon. Not all sales are created equal because they have different margins. So it's just to give it to perspective. Let's say there's two accounts, both spending $10,000 a month, and your goal is to charge around 10% of that. So like Andrew was saying, 5 to 10% of ad spend. You don't have to tell that to the clients, but that's just to give you an idea. Whatever you're quoting should be in a range of 5 to 10%. If it's a smaller account, it should be closer to 10%. If it's a larger account, it should be closer to 5%. So if the account's spending, like, say, $100,000 a month, you're going to be in that 5% tier. So spending, like, trying to build them for like 5K or maybe like 4,500 to make it look like, nice little discount. If they get even higher, then obviously you might even need to scale back depending on how good you are and what you're going to be offering them. But I use percent of spend to quote it, because if there's two accounts spending $10,000 a month and you want to charge them about $1,000 a month, one of those accounts might have a 10% target tacos. The other account might have a 20% target tacos. So one account just has a significantly lower margin on their products. So like they really need to stay below 10% tacos. The other one needs to stay below 20% tacos, meaning for the same $10,000 of spend, they're getting twice as many sales. The 10% one is getting twice as many sales on a lower margin compared to the one that has a higher margin but half as many sales. It does not make sense to charge the guy with lower margins twice as much than the guy with better margins, right? That's why percent of sales does not scale effectively. So what you can do, if they really like the percentage of sales model, you can start with percentage of spend and then just translate that, like just do the calculations to what that would be on the sales side of things. And then you can quote it out as that. But you don't want to start with saying, oh yeah, we do 2% of sales, because that's going to look wildly different. So start with the spend, because how much the account is spending much more translates to how much activity is required on your part to manage those campaigns, not so on the sales side of things. And last thing that I'll say on this is that, I actually just lost my train of thought. So back to you, Andrew.
Yeah. Not even really sure what you were saying exactly, but I was just looking at my accounts and calculating how much I'm charging them just to double check. And my biggest one, I'm charging about 3% of spend on the lower spend months, and the smaller accounts are closer to like 8 to 10%. So still within that
Yeah.
range, but on the larger account, on the smaller side.
I remembered what I was going to say, which is that
Perfect.
when the clients, so you can either use the percentage of spend to figure out, like use the percentage of spend as the starting point. And then how you actually present it to the client doesn't have to be percentage of spend. It could be a flat rate. It could be flat rate plus, flat rate increases if you hit certain KPIs, or it could be flat rate plus percentage of sales. You can get fancy with that. Talk with them about that too. And like you tell them, like, you can present a couple of options, be like, which one sounds the best to you or whatever. I just want to make sure we're aligned on incentives and stuff. If you are going to quote something as percentage of spend, though, So for the longest time, I did $950 a month base plus 7% of ad spend. That is like when I started my career, that was what I did for all my freelance accounts, and that worked out really well. Whenever someone had pushback, like I'm concerned our spend goals are not aligned, the answer to that is that they actually are aligned. You just have to explain how. You have to say, I'm never going to spend a dollar beyond what you have approved. So I'm not just going to double your ad spend without your approval and then make it that like, you're not profitable, because then obviously I'm just going to lose the business. So I do not want to get fired. The goal is to grow the ad spend profitably. So you're going to give me a target A cost or ROAS, whatever. And my goal is to get as many sales as I can within that. So if it's like your goal is like, let's just say a $5 ROAS, great. If I can double the ad sales or double the total sales while staying within that $5 ROAS, naturally that also means the ad spend doubled as well. So you're just saying that like what this is basically the percentage of spend is doing is just allowing you to scale the account profitably. You're going to be getting those budget approvals. You're never going to spend a dollar beyond what they've approved. Your goal is to just demonstrate how effective these ads are and say, hey, look, if we increase our budget by like 10% next month, we're going to make 20% more sales. And they say, great, do it. And now you're able on the next month, you hit that goal and your invoices are growing with them. And I really like something that's a percentage model so that it scales up and down rather smoothly rather than these tiers where it's like, if if you spend one more dollar, I'm going to charge you an extra $3,000 a month. You just jump from like the $2,000 range to like the $6,000, $5,000 range, whatever. Like those huge jumps are scary. So having a very smooth transition that's dynamic with their seasonality makes a lot more sense. Because otherwise, like if they go through a slow month and they're on a flat rate with you, it's like they might be losing money. And then when they're in a super hectic month and they're spending a ton, it's Q4. It's like they're making great margins, but now you're overworking and not seeing any pay. So like it's nice to have your income kind of scale and grow with them. It's also great just getting Q4 bonuses naturally through more sales on Amazon, so you can buy your family nicer gifts and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the reason why I like that percentage method. And then I also tell them the reason why I will tell them this, why it's so important to me that we do this percentage method is because I want to grow my income with you. There's two ways for me to grow my income. I can go get more clients and then just be distracted from managing your account, or I can just really focus on your account and grow your business, and then I don't need to go get more clients. And people really like that. And they love giving people incentives to feel like you're actually working hard for them and that you want them to succeed because you're going to succeed if they do. And you can let them know, like, my goal is to not work with more than 5 clients, like 5, 10 max, whatever it is for you. You don't want to have 20, 30 accounts that, are all flat rates paying you $100 a month, and you're like making nothing on all of them and overworked and no one's getting your attention. You want to work with just a small handful of high quality clients and you want to see their businesses double and your income will double. That is the pitch.
Beautiful. Very well said. And I love how that ties into just like the persuasion aspect, the personality aspect that you were kind of speaking to earlier around knowing like what personalities are going to resonate with certain messaging. And right there, that was just an example of some potential messaging that you could give to a potential client that would work really well because they're coming from a lot of them an agency background. They've used agencies. In a lot of cases, those people who are working at agencies, they have 10, 20 accounts that they're keeping tabs on. And so that's like a real big pain point when it comes to attention to detail, time spent on the account. That's like a big pain point from the current solution that they have. And so your framing of your solution should be kind of with that pain point in mind, like speaking to like, hey, these agencies, they may be cheaper, but you're not getting nearly as much attention as you would with me, who only has 3 accounts, and I spend a lot more time on this account. So you're kind of inverting what that pain point was from the agency and then providing it and positioning it in your solution as a clear benefit to the contrary option or whatever. But that concept of personalities and how this plays into closing and pricing and everything is really fascinating to me. It's something that I've always been really interested in, and certain people are going to resonate with certain messaging. I think like the framework that I've always listened to and heard about is called the PACE system. So you have practical, action, social, and emotional. So 4 categories. People generally tend to favor 1 or 2 of those, but you were talking about like somebody who's like super boring and like logical and like a robot. That's like a really practical person. And so the way you're going to appeal to that person is through logic, through numbers, through showing the improved performance that you can get, seeing the discrepancy in like how much waste they have, or like, seeing a price comparison between you and somebody else is going to be really powerful for that type of person. action people, they're like gung ho, they're like really high energy. They hop on calls and they're excited. Like they're fun to be around. They're a little bit higher energy. Those type of people, they want to move quick. You could be like, hey, I want to start. We can start tomorrow. Like we can start on your account today, even like we can start launching campaigns today, kick things off really quick. That type of messaging is going to resonate differently with somebody else, with the action type of person. And then you talked about the social. Certain people just want to feel like connected to, like just, be able to conversate and be personable with the person that they're working with. So depending on what that person's personality frame and type is coming into that call, you need to kind of tailor the messaging and the conversation to that particular person's personality and what's going to actually resonate and persuade.
Conversate is an informal word, by the way.
Beautiful.
I hear people
What's
say
that mean?
It's
Does that mean it's not a
converse.
word? Oh, well.
What's funny is that words, they become words because people use them, but it's like they weren't technically a word, but so many people said that it became a word. Anyways, I want to say I make up words all the time, by the way. It's not, hopefully you guys know me and Andrew have a great relationship and we're allowed to make fun of each other. This is critical. Service guaranteed to pay for itself within 30 days. You should not be charging anybody more than what you can confidently recover. If you want to be extra confident, put the price even lower, and then just make it so that you can grow back up again. So you can you do not want to make it so low and then lock yourself into just a flat rate and then just never be able to grow from there. So have some kind of growth incentive. You can start it off super low and then grow into it, but very crucial that your service pays for itself within 30 days. And then what I tell the clients on the call, and this is absolutely critical, tell them, I'm going to pay for myself. That's the guarantee. But in the contract that we're going to sign, what I'm actually going to put in there is something that's actually a looser definition of this, and it's going to be in your favor, which is a satisfaction guarantee. The reason for that is because sometimes within the first 30 days, their bestseller goes out of stock, or Amazon suspends it, or a bad review comes in, or a competitor goes on deal. There's an unlimited amount of like black swan events that can, hurt your profitability just by sheer unfortunate coincidence when we start. So what's going to go into the contract, the signed contract, is guaranteed 100% satisfaction or no charge. So it's even better. They could be profitable and they could just be like, oh, I wasn't satisfied and cut the deal. But you also have to tell them that like, they can't just claim, okay, you can't charge me for this month, but I still want to continue using your services. It's like, well, no, like if you weren't satisfied with it, then you can't, like, I'm not going to continue working with you. Like either you're happy with the services and you want to continue, or you're not, and we're going to cut it off. But within 30 days, you're going to find out either you made them happy and you got paid, or they weren't happy and you don't get paid. And that's the end of it. And you don't have to do any more work. So within 30 days, it's a binary outcome. And your whole goal within those first 30 days you should be doing whatever you can to be, super high touch, set the bar really high for yourself with like the level of reporting, the performance that you're doing, just make them super duper happy. I have had clients where I onboard and within the first 30 days, something weird happens and their sales goes down and their profit goes down, but they know it's not my fault and they're excited to move forward. So we keep working together. So that's absolutely crucial. And then in terms of this pricing, by the way, these are kind of based on, so let's just pretend this was an account that was spending like, $20,000 a month or something. So this would be kind of like what we would price it at. But this is also, Andrew and I are based in the US. A lot of Amazon sellers will pay premiums for US based people just because there's a lot of benefits to that, being on the same time zone, not dealing with time issues, language issues, cultural barriers, all this kind of stuff. It's just really convenient if someone's based in the US to work with someone that's in the US. So if you are outside of the US and they're going to have to, basically it's going to be a little bit less convenient for them, just make sure that's reflected in your pricing. I've never priced things while living outside of the US, so I don't know what that would look like. But as a general rule of thumb, I would just say look at what your average cost of living is relative to living in, Andrew's in Nashville, I'm in California. You can use those as like proxies. And if your cost of living is half of what it is to live in California or Nashville, then you can just cut these prices in half or something like that. It's probably a good, fair thing to look at. So people can be like, oh, I could pay like $2,400 a month to work with a guy in California, or I could pay $1,200 a month to work with some guy in, I don't know, Eastern Europe or something. And they might be like, I'm going to put up with, because if someone's trying to message you and it's like 5 p.m. their time or 4 p.m. their time and it's an emergency and it's the middle of the night for you and you're not going to see it for another few hours, they just want to at least get a discount on that because that is an inconvenient thing for them. So that's essentially just the final thing to consider when determining those prices.
Yep. Very good. All right. I think we've been going for almost an hour and a half now, and I know we've got some questions in here. I want to have some time here at the end for Q&A. Anything else to add here to close out
No,
this segment before we
let's
move
do
forward?
Q&A.
All
Actually,
right.
sorry. I'm just going to say this real quick. Never split the difference. Essential
Good book.
book. Read that book. Andrew and I both read it. Will change your life, not only in sales, but literally just in everything, all of your life's relationships. 100%
Mhm.
recommended. All right, Q&A.
All right. Let's see what we got here. So, what do you think is better, getting your own client or working in an agency? What are the pros and cons? Steven?
In a perfect world, you can do a little bit of both.
That's
So
what I
get a
was going to say.
full-time salary, some stability, healthcare, whatever, and then pick up, one or two clients on the side and generate some extra cash flow there. Uh, I mean, that's Andrew and I have always done that. Whenever we were working at any other agency, we were always having a couple side clients just to bolster our income. I will say having your own clients is the best feeling in the world, to like have your own little tiny business, to be, when the 100% of what the client is paying goes directly to you, and you're not just getting like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of whatever's going through the agency to cover overhead and all these things. It's an incredibly rewarding feeling.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have any other comments on that. I would say the same thing. It's, some agencies, they don't allow it or whatever. That's never been the case for me. It's never been a problem. Don't let it become an issue where your side clients are taking up too much of your time that you're then dropping the ball on your agency clients. You got to be able to prioritize and balance everything appropriately. But ultimately, that's a really good situation to be in. You've got the stability of the agency, consistent paycheck, and then you've got the additional side income to boost up on the, that you can grow as much as you want to, and eventually transition to where you're able to leave the agency and do things on your own if that's something that you want to. But
Yeah.
having both at the same time is a really powerful spot to be in.
Michael asks, thoughts on cold calling? The first half of this live shows the full extent of what our cold outreach looks like. I am not a fan of cold calling at all. I just hate cold outreach in general. I hate being cold outreached to, and I hate being the guy who does the cold outreach. So, not sure if you missed it, but I would just say go back and rewatch. Like kind of like it was like the first 30 minutes of this was going over what that cold outreach process for us looks like. So just stick to that.
Yeah, same. I've done cold outreach one time for this industry, and it didn't last very long. I called a handful of people, and I was like, "All right, this ain't for me."
Here's a really good question, Andrew, from Im Kafka.
Okay.
Not sure if that's an abbreviation, but at what point did you delegate campaign execution, and how did you structure the SOPs and handoff process to maintain client trust while scaling? Ooh.
Good question. Short answer: I didn't. I didn't delegate
Same.
the campaign execution to anybody. I think that in my experience, just working in the space and trying to hire people, it's really difficult to find somebody who is sharp, who can do it well. There's no SOP system that you can put together that can cover all of the potential avenues that or things that Amazon's going to throw at you. All the It's so nuanced. There's so much change happening on a day to day that you can't just throw everything into an SOP. And unfortunately, it's difficult to find people who can critically think, who work hard, who want to put in a lot of effort, and learn this skill, because that's what it is. But yeah, I've never handed it off. I've always managed my own campaigns. All my clients, I still currently manage the day to day. I have had assistants and things like that handle small tasks and things like that on a regular basis. But when it comes to execution, it's all me.
Same. Yeah. Andrew and I
But
have
we also don't have
tried,
big agencies. If you're
yeah,
scaling an agency, then yeah, you're going to have to outsource at some
but
point.
we have worked at large agencies, and when we were trying to hire more people, no one was able to handle the hands-on keyboard stuff as well as we could. We tried scaling the ad labs agency. We ended up just nixing it because it was just really difficult to find people that could do as good of a job as we can do. So the bottom line was we just decided to, rather than just growing the agency like horizontally, meaning just like more and more clients, more and more employees, we decided to grow our freelance business more vertically, which is just like growing the smaller account or a smaller group of accounts and just growing their sales and just, keeping things focused there and letting the growth happen there. If you were going to hire someone though, for example, Andrew would probably hire me for his freelance business. I would probably hire Andrew for my freelance business. Why would we hire each other? Because we are both capable of handling our own clients and handling a business. So we can't announce who it is yet, but we are going to be hiring a new person for Ad Labs who will be having a very similar job to me and Andrew. The reason why we're deciding to hire this person is because they are capable of building their own business. And so if someone can build their own business, their own freelance, whatever, they just need help with like generating leads. And it's like, well, we have the leads, we have that outreach. So like they can just like join our team and, help us close these deals and all these things, but like they're fully capable of doing it themselves. That's going to be the best kind of hire because they're going to require the least amount of oversight, management, SOPs. SOPs and everything are all super important, but I think they ultimately become a handicap if everything depends on those SOPs because there's too many things in life that cannot be SOP'd, and you just need really good, smart people who know how to solve problems and handle them on their own.
Yep. Alessio has a question. I saw him comment on the event on LinkedIn, so I'm sure this is the question he was going to ask. He said, when it comes to getting access for the audit, for ads, it's really easy. Just send a link, client grants access. But for organic data, it's longer manual process that leads, they need to add you to Seller Central. Do you know if there's a way, faster and more efficient way to get both sponsored and total sales data access at once?
Generally, I'll just audit the PPC a lot of the times. It's just simpler.
Yep.
But if you want to do the organic stuff too, no, there's no easier way.
Yep, pretty straightforward on that one. I usually try to pull in and get the total sales data because it gives a more complete picture and helps with the audit. It's a little extra headache and work to get the access, but if you want to include it, you got to get it. But yeah, I have done just PPC before too. There's obviously plenty of things you can dig into there and find. But
or what's even better is, I just thought of this, but like going back to the make sure your services can pay for itself. If you're using Ad Labs, it should be very easy because this is how Andrew and I have met those guarantees. It was primarily through really just two things: optimize bids and placements. Boom. No one else is optimizing bids and placements the way we do. That alone is enough to cover, like, only 1% of accounts are. So 99% of the time, just optimizing the bids and placements properly in Ad Labs is going to more than cover your cost of services. And then you throw day parting on there as well, and it's like you've 10x'd your the customer's return. But you could potentially, if you're planning on using Ad Labs for this client, you could ask them like, hey, we're going to use this thing. If you set up your account on the software and connect your own account, then I can jump in and audit it. So then it's easier for them to just connect it and add you as a user. And then it's way easier to add someone as a user to Ad Labs than it is on Amazon. The permissions thing, the SPP thing, we've been having nightmares with that all week. So just another ideas, and it doesn't have to be Ad Labs. It could be any software. So if they're using any other software, you'd be like, hey, can I just get access to that? And I could audit it through there. That's potentially an easier way to find their Seller Central data without dealing with SPP and all that stuff.
Cool. Got another question. So what would you do with the small, medium clients if you want to grow vertically? So this is, I'm assuming you're saying you have the small, medium clients, but you want to scale vertically. I think my comment on this is just, what are you saying yes to and what are you saying no to? Like the clients that are coming to you, are you willing to say no to those smaller clients when they come to you? That's going to be step number one. Just like put up you have a filter of whether or not you accept clients, and if they're not X size or for those larger clients. But everything that kind of goes into what we've talked about on this call, in this episode, whatever, is geared towards attracting those higher ticket clients, and that would help you grow vertically. It's going to help get your name out there. But one thing we haven't really touched on and mentioned that is helpful with attracting bigger ticket clients is networking and growing your connections in the space. So through doing the podcast, through doing all this content on LinkedIn, Steven and I have had the privilege of meeting tons of people in the Amazon space who we now know, who now send us business every once in a while. They're sending us new referrals and clients and things like that. And a lot of times those bigger clients can come through referrals. And a lot of times that's where they do come from. And so having a network of allies, of people that you know in the industry who know what you do and the services that you provide, and you do it well, then they're more likely to send you business, which has happened a lot. And a lot of our biggest software users, biggest clients have come from people sending them as a referral, just through good word of mouth and delivering good service.
Andrew, question: what do you guys think about Twitter as a lead gen platform for Amazon PPC? While you answer that, I'm going to go get water, by the way.
Did somebody really ask that, or did you just make that up?
No,
because Twitter.
That's a genuine. No, that's
somebody
that's
all right, cool.
Nawal.
Okay, I didn't see that one. Twitter, yeah. So I don't post on Twitter at all. I've seen other content creators try to use Twitter for Amazon PPC related content. Just go look some up and see, some of the biggest creators on LinkedIn and YouTube in the Amazon space and see what they're doing on Twitter. The engagement is pretty much negligible or non-existent. And while I do think you should try to maximize your overall presence online and be, everywhere, I think you do need to be selective with which avenues are actually worth your time. And I just don't think Twitter has the target clients or the, that's not where those people are hanging out and consuming information as much. I think it could work if done properly. I've seen some people do some really cool stuff in the finance space on Twitter, which I think could potentially have some sort of crossover into Amazon, but the finance space is just way bigger, a lot more people interested. There's just not a lot. The Amazon space just isn't as big as something like that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm just going to share my screen one more time and give you guys a very clear example. Like we considered doing it, and then this was when we stopped. Our consideration period was extremely short. We started posting a couple things on Twitter, and then we just like literally deleted our Twitter account because look at Mina, 30,000 followers. That's huge on LinkedIn, right? The total addressable. I mean, Stephen Pope is probably has the largest following, so this is going to give you a good context of what's the total addressable market on LinkedIn. 70,000 is like the peak that you can get to on Amazon. So Mina's like almost a half of that. Posts, engagement. Look at his Twitter, 200 followers, and he'll get like one like. And he posts. I think he quit posting in June because he realized it wasn't working because his last post
posting like every day.
But he was just like copy pasting or like there's tools that you post it once and they just duplicate it across multiple platforms.
Yeah.
So you can do that, but we're like it's just not worth it. So we gave up on that because for Amazon PPC, Twitter is not the place to be. If you're in finance or crypto or tech, absolutely go on Twitter, ditch LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a weird thing that really only works for our industry. Most people don't even use LinkedIn, but our industry, that's where it's at.
Do you think AI will eventually replace human PPC managers?
Yeah, AI will replace a lot of things, but we are a long way from that. Long way from that. Because here's what people don't realize about AI. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but number one, you have to train the AI. So all the other software tools and agencies and PPC managers that are just bad at their jobs are the ones who are training the AI. They're training the AI incorrectly. AI is not naturally smart on its own. It has to go through a supervised training process. And then the second thing is it just requires a massive database. And these LLMs, large language models, have access to essentially an infinite number of words to learn from, all of the libraries in the world and all the websites that have ever existed. These little AI tools have like their 50 little client accounts that are probably poorly managed, and it's being trained on that super small data set of poorly managed campaigns with bad PPC strategies. So hopefully AdLabs one day will build a much better AI that isn't going to like also take over control of your accounts. It's going to be more like a co-pilot that like audits and gives stuff, but we're a long way from that. So don't hold your breath. Don't trust AI for Amazon stuff yet.
Any bad experiences with PPC managers? Yeah, plenty.
Tons.
Don't need to go into all of those, but lots of them.
All right, man. We could probably we could probably handle like one or two more questions and then we're going to wrap it because we already went 35 minutes longer than I think anyone was expecting. There were some questions from the very beginning. I want to see if we could handle these. If you have,
what's one mistake most Amazon? Sorry, go ahead. I got one too, but you go first.
If you start from zero today, no audience, no clients, no testimonials, what steps would you take in the next 30 days to land your first 3 high retainer clients? You're not going to get your first 3 clients are not going to be high retainers. So there's that. You're going to start on Upwork. You're going to hustle like we were saying at the very beginning. So start there. You could try to begin doing some outreach on LinkedIn too, but you want to start small and expect it to take, how many months, Andrew, until you get your first high ticket client, you think?
Probably 6 months, maybe
I was
longer.
Gonna say 6 months too.
Yeah.
Andrew, now what's crazy is we say a lot of things just based off of like hunch from our total experience, and it's very often on the same exact answer. So I think good confidence in that. You can get your first small ticket clients in the first 1 to 2 months, and then your first like larger client will probably take 6 months.
Vadim, were you able to get tickets for Unboxed? I was. I
I
could
was
only get
not.
one though. I'm working on trying to get Steven one too, but no luck yet. If you know of anybody, if anybody's got an extra Unboxed ticket, Steven's looking for it. One other question here. Somebody asked, what are some of the biggest mistakes agencies make when auditing accounts? I think we talked about this on one of the more recent podcast episodes about evaluating wasted ad spend. Like this is something that a lot of agencies will do is they'll try to input this big shock factor into their audits, like $30,000 of wasted ad spend or whatever. Like they try to make these big bombastic claims to help sell the client, show that the agency they're working with or whatever is not doing a good job. They try to make them look really bad, blah blah blah. Like don't do that. You shouldn't be talking bad about any other agencies or trying to make anybody look bad or anything like that. So yeah, be truthful and honest in your audit. If they're doing a good job, tell them they're doing a good job. Like just truthfully and honestly go through the account and try to find things that could be better, and don't try to paint it in any sort of way other than what it actually is. Just be truthful.
Yep. Andrew, thoughts on posting multiple times a day on LinkedIn?
I'm not a fan of it. I've seen multiple. I think if you can maintain it, if you can do like 2-3 posts a day for a year, do it. Like I think you could definitely ratchet up your overall visibility. As far as like on a day-to-day though, I think that in my experience, when I post multiple times a day, it usually kills the momentum of the first post that I put up. So usually what I'm doing, I'm posting at 7 a.m. every morning. So that way it gets out on the platform early. It gets a little bit of time for people in Europe and overseas and all that type of stuff to interact with it and engage before all the people in the US wake up and start engaging with it. So I schedule those posts early in the morning. And usually if I post later, like I would put it at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but I would very quickly see, number one, that post got very little visibility, and number two, it killed the impression or momentum that the first post in the day was actually getting. So I don't recommend it unless it's something you can do at scale really consistently.
All right, guys, we are going to wrap up this live. So if you guys like this and you think we should do more of these, let us know in the comments, especially comments on the video if you were not catching the live stream. If this type of stuff is valuable, let us know. Shoot us messages if we should be doing more. There are a few more questions. Andrew, let's try to do super rapid fire. So like 10 words or less on these questions.
I don't see any new ones coming in. If you've got them,
I got a couple. I'll shoot them to you.
Okay.
All right, 5 words or less. What do you do with a small to medium client if you're trying to grow them vertically?
Expand the catalog.
And if they won't expand the catalog, then it shouldn't take a lot of time. So go get another client. What are going to be the most important levers to pull and master when automation increases and becomes efficient in the future? Cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, I don't know. Prompt engineering, knowing how to interface with the AI properly. I have no idea.
How do you set up new clients for success, build trust early on, and stand out as a PPC manager that clients want to work with?
Do a good job.
Get the results. Watch our podcast episodes. Use Ad Labs to do that, and communicate well. We should do a whole other episode on how to communicate better, talk better on client calls, seem more professional, answer more questions. So if you want that, let us know too. All right, you guys, thank you for watching the very first ever That Amazon Ads podcast live. We'll see you guys for our next episode next Tuesday. Peace out.
See ya.